Manu Petit live at the Emirates, where the Arsenal manager has been reflecting on a return to winning ways. Here he is, Mikel Arteta.
Congratulations, it was a terrific first half performance. You'd be absolutely delighted with that.
Yeah, the first 60 minutes I thought that the team played really well. We've been discussing that we need to be us, you know, and that's so everything that I want to see from our team, you know, full commitment, a lot of energy, quality, speed, movement, 2 beautiful goals. And we connected with our crowd and created an incredible atmosphere again and the right to win the game.
Given the last 4 games, just to touch on that atmosphere thing, you know, it really felt from the very first kick of the game that these fans still are right behind you, right with you, and believe what you're saying, which is this isn't over. There's twists and turns and stuff is going to happen. They've
been like this throughout the season, and they've been incredibly supportive with us, and what they've done today with the team shows another level of commitment again, and it's there. We wanted to earn the right to be top of the league tonight again. We are. And we have to be happy with where we are, but not accepting because it's not end up, and we want to achieve that.
You do have a few injuries, and obviously Saliba is out, and Gabriel had a kind of recurring issue very early. But what's your thoughts about what his injury may be?
I don't know. He could not carry on. He tried for another 10-15 minutes. He was struggling, so obviously we have to assess him. It's not common on Gabi to leave that pitch, but he wasn't comfortable.
Martin Odegaard first time. I mean, his first goal is just brilliant. His second's pretty good as well. But what a finish.
That's what we demand him, you know, to be more effective in the final third and having more influence on winning matches. And he's done, I think, his 14 goals already this season, with his a big mark for an attacking midfielder, and his contribution to the team, his leadership, his skills, and I'm really pleased with him.
I don't know if you're aware of it, but one negative is that Mudryk in the last moments of the game was having a laser shone at him from the crowd, which is obviously, you know, nobody needs that, do they?
No, and if something happened, obviously we will review what happened in the match and take action.
Well, he says that they connected with the crowd again, and after the frustration of the last few weeks, that was pretty pivotal tonight.
Well, when Mikel took over right from the off, from the time he came, he said that's one thing he wants to do. He wants to get the connection, the fans and the players back. They've worked very hard on that, you know, behind the scenes as well, in getting the fans and getting the Ashburton army now. We've got a load of young people now who meet up before, they come in, they stand behind that goal at the clock end, and they sing all through the game. And it's kind of got the crowd together. Everybody's feeling, and obviously having the season that we're having from the start, that kind of galvanises everything, and that's just kicked on, and it's got better and better with the song, the North London song as well. That's another thing. Just before the start of the game, we've got that You Never Walk Alone song. It's all galvanised everything, and that is something that has been unbelievable for us this season.
So what you're saying is the Highbury Library is...
The Highbury Library's gone.
It's finished.
Yeah, it's gone.
No, because there would have been fans coming into that stadium tonight hoping, but also wondering what the reaction was going to be like after the Etihad.
Yeah, there'd have been a little bit of a doubt, you know, but the team didn't doubt. The manager didn't doubt. They were very confident in the way they went into that game. When you're playing Chelsea at the moment, everyone keeps saying, like, they're such a good individual. They could click one given game. It hasn't happened yet. But they can. They've got so many good players. It's a bigger picture for them. It's a bit long for next season. But no, Arsenal, I think they're in a position now where if they've got something to strengthen on, because they've got a system. Now, when you've got a system, a little bit like Brighton recruitment, you've got a system, you've got a style of play they've found. Chelsea haven't got a style of play. Even when Graham Potter, he still didn't know what his best team was, what system was the #1 system. Of course you adjust different games during a game or a different opponent. But they've got a system. They play this they've decided to put the left back in there, Zinchenko, and then allow the Odegaard to go and play, and Xhaka at the moment. So now they can identify who do we go and get to the recruitment to go and add to that to make it even better. Chelsea at the moment, you haven't got that at all. Man City have got a system. They know how to play. It's like clockwork. They just put the people in there and go, bang, he'll be brilliant. He might even take us to another level. Ireland, obviously, is one example. So there's teams that Liverpool had that system. That's gone. They're now having to do a rebuild. And this is what you look at every team like this, right the way through. Newcastle are finding their system. Now they're going to, Eddie Howe will go and get players to fit that system, and hopefully what you're hoping is to improve it. So that's where Arsenal are sitting at the moment.
I think, you know what as well, Gaffer, you say that and you're bang on. When you look at Chelsea and the way they put this scattergun approach to the people they were signing, they just signed him and signed him and signed him. And, you know, and this is why Graham Potter, his head was spinning with players who come in, what am I going to do with these players? And when, like the Gaffer rightly said, when you've got a system and you're able to put people into the system, they then come, they settle quicker simply because they know the system. They're the kind of player and the kind of attitude of what the team want, that they can fit into it without changing anything. But like, again, when you do this scattergun approach, I remember Man United were doing it not long ago. And again, we didn't know what their system was. You know, they were just playing and we didn't know what they were doing. Now we're starting to see a little bit more of a formation and a system with Man United. You can't just do that. You can't just buy, put them in and say, go on, manager, get on with that. And that is what we're fighting. That's what we're seeing with Chelsea now, and that's why they need to get that manager in sooner rather than later.
And whilst Chelsea didn't help themselves, he did ghost into that area.
Yeah, he did
A couple of times for those goals, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. And like I say, when you look at, we picked up on the fact that Zinchenko, look at, there's no pressure on him. So, you know, when you're giving players of that caliber, that kind of time, you know, you're going to get problems. Look again, no pressure, and then brilliantly picked out by Granit Xhaka there, and then that's a lovely finish. You know, he's got the power on it. Like Gaffer, you highlighted this, how Zinchenko just got himself on the line.
Yeah, it didn't look so good inside,
No.
but he read the situation and pulled away. You see in there Kovacic drifting in. You know, Chelsea are loose. They've been loose in the early part of the game, but this is all about, look at that clever little bit of movement.
Yeah.
It really was. And what a lovely finish. It's not an easy, it looks easy because the pitch is lovely. Look, the ball
Coming at pace
coming
as well.
across your body, you've got to stay over the top of it.
Yeah, he's done well there.
And he beats him for pace. As you say, the power's already on the ball.
Yeah.
He's only got to guide it. And I think he beats Kepa through pace rather than placement.
And almost a carbon copy for his second goal. Chelsea didn't learn their lesson.
Well, they didn't, and that's the mode Chelsea were in. Again, you look at Zinchenko, he might as well go in and try and challenge him. But every single player at the moment who picks the ball up, they've got time to get their foot, get on the ball. Look at this, have a look. You know, there again. Look at Xhaka, time, space, and then Ødegaard just walks off of Raheem Sterling there. You know, because he gets himself in a position where who's picking him up? You know, I'm sort of Silva has a look at him. Sterling thinks who's picking him up. He's just got himself off the back of Sterling. Now Sterling can't see him, and as soon as Sterling turns round, he's gone. Bam, he's gone into the space, and that's all you need. That's enough. That's enough time.
And it's a sort of ball, really. You're looking at, there's blue shirts there. There's 4 blue shirts there. You're thinking one blue shirt's going to step out and intercept that. But it doesn't. It's perfectly weighted. And again, he hasn't tried, the key to that, he hasn't tried to lambast it. He hasn't tried to get his laces through it. It's coming across his body. He knows the pace is already on the ball, and he's just guided it. It looks like a miss it, but he's just guided it into that
target.
corner. It was really two really cute finishes.
Yeah, and the third one, again, as far as Chelsea were concerned, all too easy for Arsenal.
Well, when you look at the build-up again, you know, the poor clearance. That should have been a left foot clearance there, but once it comes back out to Ben White, Raheem Sterling's got to get out there. He doesn't look. He's got time to look inside, get his leg up, get his head up, I should say, and then you know, Granit Xhaka's on the back post on his own. You've got the bodies in there, but it's a shambles for Chelsea. You know, look how slow. Look at Fofana. He's just in there. He came out very slowly. He's at the back. He's kept everybody on side almost, and then now it's just a case of can it drop to an Arsenal player? But just poor defending in general. You know, they're all over the place. Look at them, and then bam, Jesus is there to just tuck it away. But that was enough for Chelsea and the way they played. That performance in the first half, they didn't deserve anything out of the game, and they didn't get anything.
Arsenal have come out the traps really quick. And it was at a stage when Chelsea looked very fragile as a defensive. Whether the ball was at the back, when Arsenal were trying to build through, they didn't press. Arsenal got in behind the 3 midfield players too easily, hence the 2 goals where they've come from. And then in that last line of defence, there was like a panic there. Yeah. They looked fragile. They didn't look like they were on their toes. They didn't look like they wanted to mark properly, you know. And that can't happen. They're the sort of things that every single game at this level, you've got to be at it. You've got to be at that. And if you do that job, you might get a draw out of the game. You might not do enough with the ball or whatever to actually win the game, but you've got to be in the game. You've got to stay in the game, particularly as we know Arsenal come out of the traps pretty quick at home. And they weren't there. They weren't there ready to take them punches.
Well, the thing is as well, you say they come out of the traps as well. We've seen that Arsenal can start slowly, depending on what kind of pressure you put on them. And I thought that Chelsea would have put them under pressure, but their press wasn't right because they weren't going as a team to press Arsenal to try and win the ball in their final third. And so Arsenal were very comfortable, you know, so they could get the ball out from the back into the midfield, up to the front men, and they could put pressure on Chelsea because Chelsea weren't tight enough on them. And so if you can do that, then you're going to create the chances, and then Arsenal did punish them when they create the chances.
No, listen, Chelsea have got a lot of work to do between now and the end of the season, but also in the summer, they've got to shift a lot of people out. They've got to get a manager in there that knows the way that they're going to play with the personnel that he's got, and you know, Arsenal's still in the hunt. They've
I was going to come to that. Yeah,
handed it over to City. All right, you've got two games in hand. Yeah. What are you going to do about it? I think City have got the fixtures that I think there's enough for them to actually go on and win it. But you never know in this league. Andy said in commentary, anything happens in it. It's such a tough league. And I think the fact, when I think back about the Arsenal scenario, right, when they went out of the Europa, that's when I thought they're going to win this year. They'll go out of Europa. They're all disappointed, but I'm thinking, you know what? That could be a reason for you to go on and win it. And I think that's why it's really double sort of disappointing if they don't go on and win it, because they had a real opportunity there. They would have loved to have gone in and won that trophy, of course. But when they went out of it, I thought, wow, they've got everything going their way at the moment. But unless you're at it, like I'm saying, Chelsea have not been at it, every single game in this league, you get found out.
And you see teams like Southampton came to the Emirates, and this is what's happening now. If I'm a team getting ready to play Chelsea, I'm going for it because they are fragile. They're not organised. They're not together. You know, I don't know what system they're playing at the moment. You know, it's a team that are, you know, if it is Pochettino that's going in there, then, you know, this is the perfect time for him because he could go in and he can really negotiate himself control, because he's going to need to get control, because we know he likes young, impressionable players. They'll play a kind of a pressing game, and he's got the tools there. They're going to need to sort that out, like the gaffer said. They're going to need to sort that out, the summer, the manager, whatever it is. But they're going to need to do that very, very quickly.
Just getting back to Arsenal, I mean, who knows what the 2 games against Real Madrid is going to take out of City. But all Arsenal can do is keep doing their job as they've done tonight and just ask them a question.
That's all it is, Steve. You just ask the question. Like I said, I'm delighted with that performance tonight. You just don't fizzle out. That's what I want. They've played too well this season and got themselves in such a great position to not just fizzle out just because you're in Champions League now. You've done that, and that's what the goal was at the start of the season. But finish strong, because you never know what could happen.
And when you look at the 4 games left for your former club, obviously the next one is the most difficult. Only one team have won at St James's all season. In fact, 2 since Eddie Howe took the job. Yeah,
but the thing is Newcastle having a great season themselves, and they'll see Arsenal coming there as a team that they have to beat. I'm sure it's going to be a tough game, but I'm quite confident that we'll go up there with this win, knowing that we can cause them problems just like they can, because some of the lapses we had in the second half that Martin Ødegaard was talking about, I don't think we can afford to do that at Newcastle. Chelsea were nowhere near it. Newcastle will be. So we need to go there with an attitude of we must win again.
Yeah, and you look at them games, what is it, 9 games in that short period? It could be 10 if they get to the final of the Champions League. And if they get a couple of injuries, City, you know, they've got a squad that can handle injuries, of course. But, you know, if they just miss out on one of those, maybe their sights might be on Europe. You know, you never know. I do believe they'll win the league, and I think they'll go on and win Champions League myself. Whatever happens in the Manchester final, I don't know. That could be the one they get tripped up on. But that's a hell of a lot of games in a short period of time. It really is. I'm not sure they're going to win every single game. I really don't. But
just as long as they lose the Premier League games.
But if Arsenal keep winning, then at least that's in their mind, isn't it?
Yeah. But that's all Arsenal can do. You know, this is why. You know, if it doesn't happen, you know, then you look back at those 3 games with those 7 points that Arsenal maybe could have had. One, you know, against even if you win you draw the Liverpool game, win the other 2, you know, that's 7 points. You know, 7 points now with the 2 games in hand, you're still in front with them having 9 games. But we can't look back on that now. The fact is that all we can do is win the games. I thought this would have been a tough one, but it wasn't. We made it easy, and you just got to go to the next one now.
And let's speak to one of the key components. Granit Xhaka is waiting to speak live to us at the Emirates Stadium. Thanks for joining us, Granit. It was all about the response tonight. How pleased were you with it, particularly that first half?
Yeah, thanks, first of all, and I think we deserve to win today. The first 60 minutes, I had the feeling that we had a very good game. We needed this reaction as well from our team after 4 games. We didn't win, and the reaction was here with the fans from our side, and great 3 points from us.
And a very fast start. Was that it? Was that in your mind with a point to prove?
Absolutely. I mean, every game now is a final for us. We have to go for it, and hopefully in the end we can hope that we can do something. But first of all, we have to look after ourselves, and we did today the first step.
Granit, fantastic tonight. 2 great assists from you. Again, simply playing this further forward, picked out 2 great passes for Martin Ødegaard. How are you feeling about your new position, being more forward, being more like creative, scoring more goals?
Yeah, this was a new role from Mikel as well. He gave me before we started the season. He wanted much more scorer points from my side, scoring and giving assists. It's always good if you can help the team. And yeah, great finish as well for Martin. I think not both of them was easy to take.
And in the first half, I was hoping that you'd have got that one. It just kind of got stuck under your feet a little bit. I could see you curling it into that side of the goalkeeper. Was you a bit disappointed with that one?
Yeah, I think I can score today as well. Kepa had 2 or 3 great saves as well.
Yeah.
In the second half, I think he made a great save. But first of all, I'm happy that we won and the reaction was well, and hopefully can continue like this.
And as we've just been saying, Granit, all you can do now is your job and keep winning and keep asking the question, which is what you've done tonight and back on top of the league.
Absolutely. This is what we need to do. We need to first to win our games, and after we have to hope now, for sure. But I'm sure that if we win our games, that maybe we can do it in the end.
Granit, I just want to say I'm so pleased and proud of the way the players came back from that Manchester City defeat. Was that something that we were thinking about at the start of this game, that we're going to start fast? Because some of the times we've been starting a little bit slowly and getting caught off guard. Was that something that we wanted to start fast against Chelsea?
Of course, you are very disappointed if you go to Manchester and you lose the game clearly for 1. We didn't want this to happen, but this is part of football, of our job. And the most important thing was today to give the fans as well something back, but as well ourselves. And this team needs this energy, and I think the energy today was excellent.
And finally, Granit, quick word for your captain. Obviously, you assisted him twice. He's 14 league goals now from midfield, Martin Ødegaard.
He's doing a great season. First of all, he's a professional guy. He's day by day the same, and he's so important for us. He's a very quiet guy, but very, very important, a lot of quality. And yeah, hopefully next weekend he can give me 2 as well.
Very well done tonight. Appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much. All the best, guys.
Granit with a big smile on his face, and that was the most important thing tonight, to see those smiles again from an Arsenal point of view.
Well, it was, because I think that for a young side and a young team that's really trying to hold off a juggernaut like Manchester City, you know, the stick that they got for 3 draws, you know, not losses, 3 draws. You know, we know that Manchester City are so strong in this at this stage of the season. And I think that they've done well to come back, stay in it, and play a Chelsea side that, yes, they weren't very good tonight, but they really put them away. They put them away, so the mentality's strong. And all they can do, and you can hear it from them now, is just to continue to just take the next game and try and win those next games.
And that mentality, that impressed you tonight? Did you have any doubts that Arsenal would show that?
No, I think they were up for the game, and rightly so. They've hit a bit of a wall, but that's the way to respond. With the way they played with the ball that first half, you know, it was not so much how we're going to defend. I think it was a very aggressive way. Mikel would have said, come on, we're better than we have been in the last 4 games. Let's go and play. We're playing a fragile team here. Let's see if they are really got a soft centre. They found out that Chelsea have got a soft centre, and they went for the throat. I like the fact that they managed the game pretty well. They knew for 60 minutes they were in control of that game. They slowed the game down. They knew that Chelsea were throwing bodies forward. They tracked people back and they defended in numbers. So they you know, there's different ways to win a football match. You haven't got in this league. You can't dictate for 90 minutes plus with the ball and play your open football. So I think they're learning. They're a team that are learning. And yes, they've got to go and win the 4 games. They've got to go and win all 4 games, because if City do actually trip up and they haven't done their own business, my word, they'll be upset with themselves, won't they? So they've got to go and get their business done with the 4 matches. Not easy. Newcastle and Brighton particularly. But, you know, I still think City, obviously, with the games in hand, have got to be favourites.
Let's nip back to the Emirates, talk to the former Arsenal double winner, Manu Petit, who's been with us all evening. He's smiling as well because Arsenal have won again. What was that like to watch inside the stadium, particularly in the first half, Manu?
Good evening, guys.
Good evening.
It was a pleasure to watch, especially the first half. I think the Gunners, you know, they took this game by the neck from the start, from the first second. I think they were like a storm on the pitch, you know. They were very aggressive and they play as a unit, as a team, and they show great character and they gave a great response from last week. Yeah.
And was that character ever in doubt for you?
Yeah, because I think there was only one team on the pitch in the first half. I saw great attitude, communication, good spirit between the players, but all on the same lines with the same ambitions, you know, to avoid what happened last week, the last few weeks, frustrations, but as well to regain the victory because that was important. On top of it, it was a derby, and you never know in football, you know, a miracle can happen. So it's simple for them, you know, they have the task. They have to win every single game until the end, and in the hope as well that City is going to lose some points.
Manu, I know that Chelsea are not in not great form at the moment with everything what's going on with them, but when you look at the team that they put out, was you surprised that they were so poor?
I was very close to the Chelsea bench, and I've seen some players, you know, having arguments between them.
Wow.
In the second half especially, and I was very shocked in the first half. The attitude of the players, the body language, no response, you know, no pride, no unity, you know, no friendship.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking you can put 20 managers on the bench, it won't change anything at all at the moment. I think they need to clear something in the dressing room first and to think about the manager afterwards, because you have Glenn, you know, on the stage. He is the manager as well. So you can put the best manager on the bench right now. I think he doesn't get the answer because there's too many players. It's a mess. And it was embarrassing to watch Chelsea in the first half. I feel pity and I feel sorry for the fans.
Hi, Manu. It's Glenn here.
Hi, Glenn.
I hope you're well.
Yeah, you too.
Do you think, getting back to Arsenal, do you think that they've got, looking at this team, if they don't do it this year, have they got the credentials to go again next year?
They need to be more active on the transfer window. And for example, you know, in the second half, we've seen Gabriel, you know, he has to be substituted because he was injured.
Yeah.
And for me, at least 4 or 5 players, you know, for the rotation. Look what happened, you know, last week against City. They were playing the FA Cup semi-final against Sheffield. Guardiola was able to change 4, 5 or 6 players, you know, on the first team, and he didn't change anything. And you didn't see any differences. And for me, experience is something very important. City has been a machine, you know, for the last few years, winning trophies, and they're all playing together for such a long time, so they know very well each other. But on top of it, you know, the depth of bench as well, and the quality, the structure here at Arsenal is there, you know. But they need, if they want to go to the next step and to reduce the gap with Manchester City, for example, because this is the target in the Premier League. Every single team wants to beat City, and it doesn't mean you have to spend a lot of money, but they have to keep the work they're doing. I think it's brilliant because they are the target, you know, they are the players they're looking for. They don't spend a lot of money. They know exactly what they need, options, you know, in different positions. But it's not putting 100 million on the table. It's to see what kind of player can add, you know, value at the team and can fit into what Arteta wants as well on the pitch. It's not just about money. It's about a vision. It's about something you want to put through the club and with the unity of the player behind their managers. And this is where I don't see Chelsea going, because it's all about money. It's like directing a club through football managers. Well, it's a big difference between 2 clubs. And to be honest with you, when I look at Chelsea, it reminds me of Arsenal a couple of years ago.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Manu. Really interesting views. Thank you very much indeed. Great to see you again, my friend.
Take it easy, Manu.
See you, Manu.
Another difficult, uncomfortable night for Frank Lampard since he's returned for his second spell. 6 defeats in a row and just 2 goals scored. In fact, Frank Lampard, as a manager now, 14 defeats in his last 15 in the hot seat. Let's see what he thinks about this particular defeat at the Emirates.
Better second half, but ultimately another tough night. What did you make of it?
Yeah, performance first half nowhere near good enough. Too nice to play against in all aspects, too passive defensively. The Lions weren't coming up, giving them the space they want. Too from position, in possession, not, playing balls over their press, second balls, all the things that make you a nice team to play against, we did. Hence, a good team can go 3-0 up against you. The second half was better. But, of course, the results relatively confirmed by them.
I mean, does that really hurt you to say? Because one thing I think of with your Chelsea teams, no one would ever finish a game against them and think, that was nice.
Oh, I don't know about my Chelsea teams.
Any Chelsea team, I suppose.
Yeah, Chelsea's been a big success for 20 years or whatever it is in terms of domestically and with Champions Leagues. But at the moment, we're not in that position. And in the time I've been here, it's pretty evident and clear for me to see behind the scenes. And I say the training ground reasons why. The idea is, I say, if you're going to be a nice team to play against, you want to play short passes all the time and back on ourselves and not look up to play a forward pass and at the top end of the pitch not have responsibility to hold and run behind and do some things that we did do in the second half, then it doesn't matter whether you come to Arsenal or anywhere in the Premier League. So, those things maybe are not things to change overnight. But we better get there quickly because we've got another game coming at the weekend and the games come.
I think the default sometimes with supporters and from us in the media is when you see a first half like that, they're not trying hard enough, they don't care enough. Is that fair? Is that right?
Well, the passive nature of our game, you could attribute it to many things, and I think that's the easy go-to. They don't care enough. The players certainly care, but when you are. And I hate to say this, low on confidence, because tonight I don't want to say the low on confidence thing too much, because you're playing for Chelsea, there's a level of performance you have to do, and you can be low on confidence but still show a dynamic side to your game where things might not go for you, but as a collective, you're making contact off the ball with their good players, but making them feel hurried. We didn't, and all the things we spoke about before the game. So, whatever. Maybe it doesn't even matter what the core reason is, because the only thing that will get you out of it is working hard and understanding the things to do. And at the minute, we're a team that's a little bit conditioned in a way, but makes us pretty nice to play against. And that's what a Chelsea team hasn't been in recent years, and that's what will have to change.
Where does the gap between the two teams that we saw tonight, where does that come from?
I don't know. It's maybe it was a different gap. It was the other way around for many years. And it's football. We have to just understand it now and not think about the gap. Think of ourselves and perform to a level, because I was asked a lot about the game, of the talent in the room, and all these things in the dressing room. But we have to, from what this season tells you, from start to finish, by the way, because the goals that we've scored, the points that we've got is not a normal Chelsea season. We need to find the reasons quickly, and it won't be an overnight fix, because these things are not, in terms of going from the first half being so nice to play against that you're not competing enough in the game is something that really has to be corrected.
I guess that's what I'm getting at, really. You put those two teams on paper alongside each other and you think, well, there shouldn't really be any gap, but you look on the pitch and in the league table and it's huge.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of parts of that, aren't there? You could probably say this has been a team building for 2 or 3 years in the making, So they've added in pretty much every position, high-level players. They've had some great players come through. The 2 wingers are a great example of that. So they've done a lot in their sense, and then they work on an idea, on a way, and you can see some things become second nature. And the movements they want to make. So for me, it's impossible for me to come in here in 3 or 4 weeks and get all those things, because you have to work on the training ground, all that stuff. You can't just show a meeting and show the players the movements to make and go and do it. You have to repeat and work and repeat and have to have buy-in. And if players don't do it, then they don't get in the team. And that's the process of a top club.
And 6 games in for you, do you feel almost like the more you search for answers, the further away you get?
No, the main answers for me are pretty simple. So we have to do them better, the basics, and do them better, and then we'll get some progress. At the minute, we're not getting progress because the results tell you that. So it's clear tonight for me. But the first half was nowhere near good enough as a performance. for the players that we got and where we want to be as Chelsea. But it's a reality, and that's sort of come into. It's what we need to improve as a club. The idea of what we want to do and how aggressive we're going to be about it, because football moves quickly. We have to be aggressive about addressing what that first half looked like. I certainly, spoke to the players about it, but it's actions. It's not words. And
unfair, I know, to pick one individual, but you're striving for goals. You put Aubameyang in. Does he just look like a guy who hasn't played a lot of football, which he hasn't?
I'm not going to comment on individuals in the game. Because I'll talk about a collective and it's a performance. Because I don't want, because I know what you said. I understand what you said about Chelsea fans to talk about players not caring. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. They're lads that want to do well for this club, but they have to understand what that means and what that entails every day, from training on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for a Saturday game, whatever day you want to talk about, how you prepare, how you maintain yourself, and those standards are clear. So it's a collective. If I'm going to talk about an individual, I'll maybe talk about Noni, who scores the goal. And I understand what you say about Chelsea fans to talk about players not caring. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. They're lads that want to do well for this club, but they have to understand what that means and what that entails every day, from training on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for a Saturday game, whatever day you want to talk about, how you prepare, how you maintain yourself, and those standards are clear. So it's a collective. If I'm going to talk about an individual, I'll maybe talk about Noni, who scores the goal, and I thought came in and played like he's been training, and that's a good example. So he'll get his more opportunities.
Thank you.
Thanks. Cheers.
Thank you.
Too nice to play against. 6 games back, 6 defeats. He says there's been no progress. Do you feel slightly sorry for him in the sort of hand he's been dealt since walking through the door and the time he's had?
Well, to a degree, but I think when he was offered, to go in there and hold the hands of the club and get them to the end of the season, they were looking for, if not, they'd have kept Graham Potter. They were looking to up their game. They thought that Frank, being a legend at Chelsea, everyone would have been respectful of that and played for him, and really looked to collectively come together. Like he's just said, he's only just said really what Ian and myself have been saying already about Chelsea's performance, not only in this game, but since he's come in, since Graham Potter took over. There's no system there. Graham didn't know his best team. I don't think Frank knows his best team at this moment in time. He keeps changing players around. We saw Aubameyang. I think Aubameyang, it's a tough one for him to come off. The way they played second half, he'd have probably done much, much better with a little bit of service. They put a lot more bodies forward, Chelsea. He probably would have ended up maybe scoring a goal. Who knows?
Away from, I understand what you're saying though, Glenn, but away from systems, what he's saying there, we're not doing the basics right. Because supporters watching that say, how can a Chelsea player not give 100% or try or track or sprint?
That's exactly what I've just said earlier, Steve. We said it. He's come out and said it in a different way. He's manager at the moment. We can say it a little bit more ruthlessly. There was not 100% given. They weren't tracking down. It doesn't matter if you can't pass the ball well on the day or you've fluff a chance. Those things happen in life. But you have to give 100%. You have to lock on to play. There's no pattern of play there, defensively or with the ball. I don't see a system there, which is important. Because when teams are going through a slight problem, like that Chelsea are, they need a foundation to fall back on. Yep. You always need that foundation. There is no foundation there at Chelsea. There isn't. You see it with Arsenal. They've gone back to how they play. They have 4 poor results, bang. They've gone back to how what's been good for them all season, that foundation. There isn't anything for Chelsea. Frank, for him to come in and do that between now and the end of the season was almost impossible. They were hoping, the owners were hoping that they're going to get the uplift, we'll get the crowd behind Frank, everything's going to be hunky-dory now, we're going to get some results, the confidence is going to be high. That group of players with a few wins under their belt are different animals completely. Yeah. They'll go and beat teams left, right and centre, but they haven't had that win, they haven't had that change of attitude. But as Frank said, and we're saying, you've got to give 100%. You've got to put yourself out. You've got to go out on a limb. OK, they're a better team than us. They outplayed us. They hit 2 fantastic goals and we lost 2-0. But we gave absolutely everything as a unit to try and win the ball back and then try and use it as best as we could. That's not happening at the moment.
OK, that's the manager's views. Here's the captain, Cesar Azpilicueta.
You've been at the club more than a decade now. Some good times, some tough times as well. Has it ever been harder than it is now?
No. In terms of points, in terms of goals scored, conceded, I think that's the worst run and I've been at the club. And it's what it is. As I said before, is as a players as well, we have to take that responsibility. We are the ones who are playing on the pitch. We have to turn things around because it's hard. I know, I know it's hard and for everybody, but it's what we have right now, and we have to overcome these difficult moments.
How far away do you think Chelsea actually are? I mean, you look out on the pitch today and in the league table and the gap looks quite big, but actually you put the two teams beside each other on a piece of paper and you think maybe, well, the gap shouldn't be that big.
Well, I'm going to answer with an experience that I had here. We lost against Arsenal with Antonio Conte. We lost 3-0, and it seemed that for us was over and that we could not win a trophy coming from a bad season, the one before, and we end up winning the Premier League. So we are Chelsea. We always show this direction. We always come back. For me to tell you that we are far or close, we have to show it on the pitch, and we have to do our work on the pitch. Off the pitch, we have a lot of things to work on, and hopefully we show that reaction in the short term with winning games until the end of the season, climbing the table, and then prepare the next season because we cannot be where we are.
Let's take responsibility. I mean, Frank Lampard's just said we need action now, not words.
Yeah. You know what? So I find it really confusing when especially you know the team you're playing, you know how Arsenal are going to play. Arsenal ain't going to change the way they're going to play. They're going to try and play out from the back. We saw it. We saw the mistakes at the start of the show with people trying to play out from the back. And for Chelsea, with the player, to not have a game plan to try and stop Arsenal and then, like I say, win the ball in areas where they can then go and do something. I find it baffling. To do that, you've got to do a lot of work on the training ground. They're talking about giving 100%. And what you need to do, like the gaffer said, is have a foundation to fall back on. So even if you're playing badly, everybody knows what they're doing. So it's more difficult to break through something like that. Then you build your confidence in it because you can see your mate doing his bit, gaffer, and then you think, yeah, let's keep going and stuff. But Chelsea haven't got any of that. It doesn't seem to me like there's a lot of work going on the training ground in who they're playing, how they're going to close down, and how they're going to then spring attacks. It doesn't seem like that's happening.
And is that why they're a team who've won, listen to this, 4 times in 24 Premier League games?
Wow. That's incredible, isn't it? And we're talking about Chelsea Football Club with the success that they've had and the amount of quality players they've got. And they've got quality players out on. Don't forget about Lukaku's a Chelsea player still. And he might come back, and he might not, but he might be the number 9 that they're actually looking for. So there's a hell of a lot of talent in that squad, and unless you've got the desire, unless you've got the foundation, as we're talking about, but the foundation means a system. The lads at Chelsea, they are confused. There's no clarity in the way they're playing. There really isn't.
The amount of times you saw Thiago Silva doing what?
Yeah, they're all disjointed. And the different units are disjointed. And I don't know whether, for looking outside in, it's difficult, but I'm looking as from a manager's head, those units need to communicate with each other, the players, with the manager and the staff, but they're not talking, they're not actually being a unit. You got strikers, you got your midfield, and you got the defence. That needs to be a team. So they need to communicate off the pitch as well as on, about how they feel that unit is working. We want more of that from you. And then you say, well, you give us more of that. If you come tighter with us, we can then get closer to our strike. And then the strikers say, well, we feel as if we're on our own up there pressing. Then the manager understands a bit. I don't see that happening at Chelsea. Not at this moment in time. And that's how you get the foundation to a team that's going to either press. We always think about pressing high up the pitch, which I think Ian's right. Against Arsenal at the moment, that would have been a good tactic, to press them high. But you can actually drop into different areas as long as the distance becomes the same and press hard, really hard as a team collectively, together from an angle or from a distance. It doesn't have to be at the top end of the pitch all the time, but as long as when you're pressing, you're going together. I wrote down here, I was looking at how many times, normally when you get a team to press, it's the third guy that wins the ball or forces the error, not the first. You're seeing people going pressing, and when the team do it well, like Liverpool at their very best, when Poch had at Tottenham pressing really well, it was 1, 2, three all together, bang, bang, bang. The third one normally wins the ball.
Position maintenant. Alors que se passe-t-il? Le buteur Hakim Ziyech est resté au sol.